Hey, what's going on everybody? Jason here, and welcome back to another LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga video. In this video, I wanted to talk about an update that came to the game last week for May the 4th be with you day. On May the 4th, which is Star Wars Day, in case you couldn't tell, there was an update for LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. It wasn't a very big update, but what they added was pretty cool. The update added a new Jedi character called LUKE STARKILLER, and for those of you who are hardcore, die-hard Star Wars fans, you will understand the significance of LUKE STARKILLER, but for those of you who don't, here is the backstory. The addition of LUKE STARKILLER to LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is an homage to the original concept artist for Star Wars, Ralph McQuarrie. Ralph McQuarrie was an instrumental figure in conceptualizing the entire universe of Star Wars as we know it. His iconic concept art laid the groundwork on what Star Wars as a whole was going to look like. But where does LUKE STARKILLER come from? Well, LUKE STARKILLER was actually supposed to be Luke Skywalker before Luke Skywalker himself was a character. LUKE STARKILLER was the name of the character back in the second draft of the script. Completed back in 1975, 2 years before the original Star Wars movie would release, the second draft of the script was called Adventures of the Starkiller, as taken from the Journal of the Whills, Saga 1, The Star Wars. This long-winded title would then eventually be changed to Adventures of LUKE STARKILLER, Episode 1, The Star Wars. And then of course, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, that would just turn into Star Wars back in 1977. And so, LUKE STARKILLER was one of the original characters from this draft of the movie. We can see here in this concept art from Ralph McQuarrie, this is what LUKE STARKILLER looked like. Like I said before, this was Luke Skywalker before he even existed. We can see LUKE STARKILLER here with a whitish yellow lightsaber fighting an early conceptualized version of Darth Vader who is wielding a white lightsaber. And if you think this is strange, the second draft back in 1975 had completely different things as opposed to the Star Wars movie that we're all used to. Even though the second draft did share a lot of similarities between the 1977 official release of Star Wars, there were some very drastic changes. For example, the first planet we see in the movie, Tatooine, was originally called UDPATE. And I'm sure a lot of you Star Wars fans know that UDPATE was the planet from Revenge of the Sith where Obi-Wan killed General Grievous. So in reality, that planet wasn't originally supposed to be called UDPATE. Tatooine was supposed to be UDPATE. LUKE STARKILLER would live on UDPATE, and he had a brother named Deke who was aligned with the rebellion who just so happened to be a Jedi. In addition, on UDPATE, Leia, who was originally named Leia Lars, was Luke's cousin who lived at the moisture farm. In this draft of the script, Luke and Leia were not brother and sister, they were cousins. But this actually goes to show you that from the very beginning, George Lucas had some sort of familial idea in mind when it came to Luke and Leia, which I think is fascinating. So clearly there are some very different and very drastic changes compared to the second draft here from 1975 and the official release in 1977. But getting back to Ralph McQuarrie himself, he was actually the first person that George Lucas hired when creating Star Wars. George Lucas knew he needed some really solid concept art for this space opera, and clearly Ralph McQuarrie was the right man for the right job. Ralph McQuarrie's influence in the Star Wars universe is massive, and even though Ralph McQuarrie is now one with the Force, his influence carries on to this day. The original characters from Ralph McQuarrie's concept art would eventually be turned into action figures. In addition, his art style would go on to inspire other Star Wars projects, such as Star Wars Rebels. We can see that Zeb Orrelios, one of the main characters in Rebels, is based off of Ralph McQuarrie's original concept art for Chewbacca. So overall, Ralph McQuarrie's creativity and artistic direction helped shape the Star Wars universe as we know it today. And before we end off today's video, just taking a look at the character itself in LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, it looks pretty cool. I like the yellow lightsaber, and the attention to detail on the character model is pretty good. And I think it's really cool that the developers put this character in the game as an homage and a tribute to Ralph McQuarrie. I can only hope that in the future that the developers add more of these Ralph McQuarrie styled characters into LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. I just think it'd be really cool to see the Ralph McQuarrie styled characters in this game in LEGO form, such as R2-D2, C-3PO, and Chewbacca, just to name a few. But what do you guys think about this small update for LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga paying homage to Ralph McQuarrie, a legendary figure in the history of Star Wars? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Anyways guys, that's it for this video, and I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe if you're a brand new viewer. And with that said, have a fantastic rest of your day or night depending on where you are in this crazy world. May the Force be with you. Always.